Hello, my wonderful listener, and welcome back to JBC English Learning Academy, the channel where we explore ideas to help you feel more confident, improve your English, and think deeply about life at the same time. I'm really happy you're here today. Thank you for taking this time for yourself. Whether you're listening while walking, studying, or just relaxing with your headphones on, I hope this episode gives you something meaningful to take with you. Today, we are going to talk about something everyone experiences: mistakes. Yes, we all make mistakes. Sometimes in our personal life, sometimes at work, and sometimes even when learning English. Mistakes are normal. They are part of being human. But here's the important question. Do your mistakes define who you are? Should one wrong decision, one embarrassing moment, or one failed attempt decide your identity? Should it stop you from trying again? If you've ever made a mistake and thought, "I'm a failure," or "I'll never be good at this," you are not alone. These thoughts are normal, especially when we care about something. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever been so afraid of making a mistake that you didn't even try? Maybe you wanted to speak English in class but stayed quiet. Maybe you wanted to apply for a job but were afraid of failing the interview. These are real situations many people face. Fear of mistakes often stops us from growing and learning. Mistakes can feel heavy. They can make us doubt ourselves or think we are not good enough. But here's the key idea. A mistake is just a moment, not your identity. It doesn't mean you are lazy, weak, or not smart. It just means you tried something and it didn't go as planned. That's it. A mistake is a learning opportunity, not a final judgment. In this episode, we will explore this idea more. We will talk about why we fear mistakes so much, how different cultures and schools treat mistakes and failure, how we can change our mindset to see mistakes in a positive way. You will also hear real examples, useful English expressions, and practical tips you can use. I'll ask questions that help you reflect and connect personally with these ideas. So, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and get ready. This conversation might change the way you see your mistakes and yourself. Here at JBC English Learning Academy, it's not just about learning grammar or vocabulary. It's about changing the way you think, speaking English with courage and clarity, trying new things, even when you are not perfect. Let's begin. Why we fear mistakes. Now, let's talk about something most of us feel but don't always talk about: the fear of making mistakes. Why are we so afraid of doing something wrong? Why do small mistakes feel so heavy? This fear is deep. It is emotional. And it is very human. From a young age, many of us are taught that mistakes are bad. In school, if you answer a question incorrectly, you lose points. If you forget your homework, you may get a low grade. Sometimes, you may even feel embarrassed in front of the class. Slowly, we learn that mistakes mean we are not smart enough or not good enough. This belief quietly grows inside us. When we become adults, the same fear stays with us. We become afraid of making mistakes at work. We are afraid of saying the wrong thing in English. We fear being judged by others. Perfectionism makes this fear even stronger. Maybe you feel this too. You want to do everything perfectly, so you delay starting. You work hard, but still feel it is never good enough. Perfection sounds like a strength, but really, it can be a wall. A wall that stops you from learning, trying, and growing. Perfection says, if I cannot do it right the first time, I will not do it at all. But life doesn't work like that. Learning doesn't work like that. And learning a language definitely doesn't work like that. Sometimes our fear comes from how we think others will see us. If I make a mistake, they will laugh at me. If I make a mistake, they will think I am not smart. This fear of judgment is normal, especially when learning English. And it can be stronger if you have ever been corrected in a way that felt rude or embarrassing. But here's the truth. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone. And the more we try, the more we grow. Mistakes are part of the process. They are not the end. Do you remember that moment when you made a mistake? How your face felt hot, your stomach dropped, and your mind screamed. Avoid this feeling. Don't risk it again. So, you stay quiet. You don't speak up. Slowly, fear grows stronger than your desire to try. Cultural influences can make this even stronger. In some cultures, mistakes are seen as shameful. People are expected to always be right, always be strong, and never show weakness. In other cultures, mistakes are normal, sometimes even expected as part of learning. If you grew up in a place where mistakes meant losing face or disrespecting a teacher, it is completely normal to feel anxious about being wrong. But here's an important idea. Not all cultures see mistakes as failure, and not all mistakes are bad. In many places, making a mistake is brave. It means you tried. It means you cared enough to act. Let me share something personal. When I first started learning a new language, I was terrified of speaking. I remember one day in class, I mispronounced a word and a few people giggled. I knew they didn't mean harm, but I felt embarrassed. After that, I stayed quiet for weeks. I didn't want to make the same mistake again. But looking back, staying silent didn't help me. It didn't make me better. In fact, it slowed my progress. I was trying to avoid pain, but I was also avoiding growth. Maybe you've had a moment like that too. A small mistake made you feel small as a person. If so, remember this. Fear doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And it doesn't have to control you forever. The truth is, every successful person, every fluent English speaker, every artist, every confident leader has made hundreds, even thousands of mistakes. The difference isn't that they never failed. The difference is they didn't let fear stop them. So I want to ask you, what stops you from starting? Is it fear of the unknown? Fear of judgment? Fear of not being perfect? If you could talk to that fear, what would you say? Thank you, but I don't need you today. Or, I might mess up, but I will learn from it. This is the mindset that changes everything. Not perfection. Not performance. Just progress. We all carry fear of mistakes in some form. But when we understand where it comes from, school, culture, past experiences, we can see it more clearly. Once we see it, we can start to let it go. Mistakes aren't the enemy. Fear is. And fear isn't something to hate. It's something to understand. When we understand it, we can choose differently. We can choose to try, to speak, to grow, even if it's not perfect. You are not alone in this. Everyone you admire has been afraid of mistakes. But they didn't stop, and neither should you. A mistake is not a life sentence. Sometimes, a mistake feels like the end of the world. We replay it over and over. We feel embarrassed, ashamed, or angry at ourselves. But here's an important truth. Just because you made a mistake, it doesn't mean you are a mistake. There's a big difference. Making a mistake is an event. It's a choice, an action, or sometimes an accident. It happens in a moment in time. Being a mistake is an identity. It's when one wrong step becomes a story about who you are. I'm a failure. I'm not good at anything. This always happens to me. See the problem? That thinking turns a temporary slip into a permanent label. And when we believe that label, we stop growing. We stop trying. It's important to separate the situation from your self-worth. For example, imagine you gave a presentation in English and forgot a few words or made grammar mistakes. In that moment, you made a mistake. But does that mean you're a bad speaker? That you'll never improve in English? Of course not. It just means you had a tough moment. A setback, not failure. A challenge, not the end. In fact, many successful people say they've made more mistakes than anyone else. Why? Because they tried. They acted. They weren't afraid to fail because they knew failure is part of learning. There's an old Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. I love this. It means no matter how many times you fall, you keep getting back up. That's strength, not avoiding mistakes, but rising after them. Lessons from small mistakes. Think about the idiom, don't cry over spilled milk. It means there's no point in worrying about something that already happened and can't be changed. The milk is on the floor, you can't put it back in the glass. So what do? You clean it up, learn to hold the glass more carefully, and move on. Life is full of little spilled milk moments. And that's okay. That's how we learn not to spill next time. The problem is, we often turn these small mistakes into big judgments about ourselves. We don't just say, I made a mistake in writing. We say, I'm terrible at English. And that's where fear and self-doubt grow. We often make a mistake and think, I'm terrible at this, or I'll never be fluent. We don't usually say, I just misunderstood that conversation. Instead, our minds jump to big, unfair conclusions. These thoughts are not facts. They are beliefs. And the good news is, beliefs can change. One way to change them is to question them. Next time your mind says, I'm such a failure, pause. Ask yourself, is that really true? Or is it just something I feel right now? Can I look at this differently? Can I see it as feedback instead of failure? Because every mistake gives us information. It tells us what to work on next time, what to avoid, what's possible if we try again. Let me give you an example. A friend of mine applied for a job he really wanted. He worked hard on the application, prepared for the interview, and did his best. But he didn't get the job. At first, he felt disappointed. He thought, maybe I'm not good enough. But after a few days, he looked at it differently. He said, you know what? That wasn't a failure. That was practice. Now I know the types of questions they ask. Next time, I'll be even more prepared. That is the difference between seeing a mistake as a life sentence and seeing it as a stepping stone. It's also important to remember that mistakes don't define you. You are so much more than any one action, one choice, or one moment. You are a full human being with emotions, potential, creativity, the ability to learn and grow. Think about this. Would you judge someone else forever for making one mistake? Probably not. You'd forgive them and give them another chance. So why not give yourself the same kindness? Especially in learning, whether it's English, a new skill, or life in general, mistakes are not just part of the process. They are the process. We learn to walk by falling. We learn to speak by making errors. We learn to cook by burning the rice once or twice. But we don't stop walking, talking, or cooking. And we shouldn't stop learning just because things aren't perfect. If you've been holding on to a past mistake, something that made you feel small, embarrassed, or stuck, I invite you to take a deep breath and let it go. That moment does not define you. What defines you is what you choose next. Will you stand up? Will you keep going? Will you take the lesson and move forward with courage? That's your choice. That's your power. Your past mistake is just a sentence in your story, not the title of your life. Every time you choose to move forward, even if it's messy or slow, you are writing a new page. A stronger, wiser, and more honest page. Don't let one bad moment become your full identity. You are still learning. You are still growing. And that is something to be proud of. Mistakes as a tool for growth. Now, let's go even deeper. Mistakes can actually help you grow. Not only do mistakes not ruin your life, they can make it better. They teach you lessons you cannot learn any other way. They improve your skills. They build your character. They make you stronger in ways that success sometimes cannot. Think about it. When everything goes perfectly, what do we really learn? Not much. But when we fall, mess up, or things don't go as planned, that's when the real learning begins. Take a moment and reflect. What did you learn the last time you failed at something? Was it a school exam? A job interview? Saying something wrong in English? Looking back, did that experience help you grow? Did it push you to prepare better next time? Did it show you what to improve? These are signs of growth, and that is exactly what mistakes are for: progress, not punishment or shame. Real-life examples. Many people you admire became successful because they made mistakes and learned from them. Take J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter. Before she became one of the world's most successful writers, she faced serious rejection. Her first book was rejected by 12 different publishers. Imagine how that felt, hearing no again and again. She was also a single mother, struggling with money and mental health challenges. But she didn't give up. She believed in her story and kept going. Those setbacks didn't stop her. They made her stronger. They helped her improve her writing and keep pushing forward. Now, her books have inspired millions of people worldwide. If she had let rejection define her, there would be no Harry Potter. But she used her mistakes as tools to grow, learn, and succeed. Mistakes are not enemies. They're teachers. They guide us, challenge us, and help us grow stronger than success alone can. Every mistake is a chance to learn something new, to improve, and to move forward with courage. And that is a lesson we can carry into every part of life, including learning English. Learning from mistakes, sports, business, and life. Now, let's look at some examples from the world of sports and business, people who became successful because they didn't let mistakes stop them. First, Michael Jordan. You've probably heard of him. He is often called the greatest basketball player of all time. But did you know he was cut from his high school basketball team? He wasn't chosen. His coach said he wasn't good enough. That could have been the end of the story. He could have said, "Okay, I guess I'm not meant to play." But instead, he used that moment as fuel. He practiced harder. He trained more. And later, he said in an interview, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." That quote is so powerful because it reminds us failure is not the opposite of success. It is the path to success. Here's another example: Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple. Today, Apple is one of the biggest and most successful companies in the world. But did you know Steve Jobs was fired from his own company at one point? He was forced to leave the company he helped create. It was a huge blow. But instead of giving up, he started new projects like Pixar, the company behind Toy Story and Finding Nemo. Eventually, he returned to Apple, stronger and wiser, and helped turn it into the company we know today. If those mistakes hadn't happened, who knows where he would be? These stories aren't just interesting, they are inspiring. They remind us that mistakes are not the end of the road. They are signs that we're trying, learning, and moving forward. They're opportunities to grow if we choose to see them that way. Mistakes can feel difficult. Of course, mistakes often feel bad at the moment. They can feel embarrassing. They can feel disappointing. Sometimes even painful. But these feelings don't mean you've done something wrong. They mean you care. And when you care, you learn. And when you learn, you grow. Now, think about yourself. Can you remember a time when something went wrong, but later you realized it helped you become better? Maybe it was a broken friendship, a missed opportunity, or a mistake you made while learning English. What did that experience teach you? About yourself? About others? About life? Sometimes growth is quiet. It doesn't happen all at once. It takes time and reflection. But if you look at your mistakes honestly, without shame or judgment, you will see the lessons inside them. Every time you fall, you become more resilient, more humble, more capable of handling whatever comes next. That is something to be proud of. Real growth isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up, trying again, and not giving up, even when it's hard. It's about saying, okay, I made a mistake. So what now? What can I do differently? What can I learn? That is the mindset that leads to long-term success, not just in English learning, but in every part of your life. Cultural pressure and fear of looking weak. Now, let's talk about something we don't always notice, but that affects many of us deeply: cultural pressure. Depending on where you grew up, you may have been taught that making mistakes is shameful. In some cultures, people are expected to perform perfectly at all times, avoid failure at all costs, protect their reputation above everything else. From a young age, children may hear things like, "Don't embarrass the family. What will people think?" Over time, these messages become part of how we see ourselves. We start to believe that mistakes are not just bad, they are dangerous. We begin to think mistakes make us look weak, lazy, not good enough. Once this belief is in our minds, it becomes hard to take risks or try new things, especially in public. In school, this pressure can appear in many ways. Students may avoid asking questions because they don't want to look stupid. Others may avoid trying unless they are sure they can do it perfectly. A simple mistake might lead to punishment or ridicule instead of being seen as part of learning. Children who grow up in these environments often carry this fear into adulthood. They enter workplaces or universities and continue trying to be perfect, not because they want to grow, but because they fear failing. For language learners, this pressure can feel even heavier. Imagine trying to speak English, knowing you might make grammar mistakes, pronounce words wrong, forget the right words. Now imagine doing this in a culture where mistakes are shameful. Of course it feels stressful. Of course people hesitate to speak. The fear of looking stupid can stop even the smartest people from practicing. It's not because they don't know enough, it's because they fear judgment. I've met learners who have studied English for 5, even 10 years, but still avoid speaking. Why? Because they're afraid of making mistakes in front of others. Questioning old beliefs. I understand that fear. It's real and comes from deep inside. But here's something important. You can challenge it. Ask yourself, what were you taught about mistakes as a child? Were you punished for them? Were you told to be quiet if you weren't sure? Were you compared to others? Maybe you learned it's safer to stay silent than risk saying something wrong. Now ask yourself, does that belief still help you today, or is it holding you back? Many of our cultural beliefs stay with us into adulthood without question. And that's okay. It's okay to question them. It's okay to say, that way of thinking helped me survive in one environment, but now it's keeping me stuck in another. For example, maybe in your culture, respect is very important, and that's good. But if it stops you from learning, speaking, or trying new things, it may be time to rethink how you approach mistakes. Adjusting beliefs about respect and mistakes. Let's think about respect for a moment. Respect is important. It helps us live well with others. But sometimes, respect can be misunderstood. If respect means always staying quiet and never trying new things, then it can stop you from growing. This can happen when you are learning a language, moving to a new country, or trying something unfamiliar. That same belief that once helped you survive staying quiet to avoid shame might not be useful anymore. So, we need to adjust. We need to reframe how we think about mistakes. In many Western cultures, especially in startups and the tech world, people are seeing mistakes differently. There is a popular phrase, fail fast, fail often. It means, try things quickly, make mistakes early, learn from them, grow. It's not about being careless. It's about seeing failure as part of the process, not something to fear, but something to embrace. Even if not every culture agrees with this approach, there's a valuable lesson here. Mistakes don't have to define us. Mistakes don't need to be connected to shame. Shame is one of the heaviest emotions we carry. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Shame says, I am wrong. When people feel shame about mistakes, they stop showing up. They hide. They avoid. They freeze. And that is the opposite of what we need when we want to learn, grow, or improve. We don't need fear. We need courage. Courage doesn't mean you are not afraid. Courage means you move forward even when you are afraid. Shifting your perspective. If you have ever felt ashamed of a mistake or scared to try something because of what others might think, know this: you are not alone. That pressure is real. It is shared by many people around the world. But you can learn to shift it. Start by reminding yourself, everyone makes mistakes. Even the smartest students make mistakes. Even native English speakers make mistakes. Even teachers and mentors make mistakes. No one is perfect. The more you practice being kind to yourself when you mess up, the easier it becomes to bounce back and try again. You can also create a new kind of personal culture. One that sees mistakes as feedback, not failure. One that allows you to grow instead of feeling small. One that understands real strength comes from staying open to learning, not from looking perfect. Questioning fear. The next time you are afraid to speak or try something new, ask yourself, where's this fear coming from? Whose voice am I hearing? Is it my teacher's voice from when I was a child? My parents? My classmates? Then gently ask, is that voice helping me now? Or is it time to replace it with a new voice? A voice that says, it's okay to try. It's okay to learn. It's okay to grow, even if I get it wrong the first time. Mistakes don't make you weak. Hiding from growth does. Being open, trying again, and learning from each experience, that is strength. That is how fluency is built. That is how real confidence is created. And you are capable of this strength. Rewriting your inner story. Let's slow down for a moment and take a deep breath. Even when we know logically that mistakes don't define us, it's still hard to believe deep inside. Why? Because of the inner voice, the one that says, you're not good enough. You always mess things up. Why even try if you're just going to fail again? Most of us have that voice. For language learners or perfectionists, it can be very loud. Here's the truth. That voice is not you. It's an old recording. A story you've been told or repeated to yourself too many times. Today, we can start rewriting that story. Think about this. When a friend makes a mistake, what do you say? Do you call them a failure? Do you say they're hopeless? Probably not. You might say, it's okay. You're learning. Don't worry, it happens. You'll get better. So, why don't we speak to ourselves in the same way? Why are we kind to others but cruel to ourselves? Practicing self-compassion. This is where self-compassion comes in. Self-compassion means treating yourself with the same care and kindness you give to someone you love. Understanding that mistakes are part of being human. Remembering that nobody gets everything right all the time. When you talk to yourself gently, you start to heal. You start to feel stronger. You start to grow, not from shame, but from encouragement. Here are some simple phrases to practice when you make a mistake or your inner voice gets negative. I am not my mistake. Mistakes mean I'm trying. I am learning, not failing. Every expert was once a beginner. Progress takes time, and I am moving forward. You can say them out loud, silently in your head, or write them down. Over time, these phrases help create a new habit of positive self-talk. And positive self-talk is one of the most powerful tools for emotional strength and confidence. The power of words in your mind. The words we use in our minds have a lot of power. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm bad at English. I'll never improve," your brain starts to believe it. And when you believe something, your actions follow. But if you change your inner story to something more realistic and helpful, your whole mindset can change. Instead of thinking, "I can't do this," try, "This is hard, but I'm getting better." Instead of thinking, "Everyone is judging me," try, "Everyone makes mistakes sometimes, and that's okay." You are not lying to yourself. You are choosing a balanced and helpful way to think. A story about changing your inner voice. Let me tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a woman named Maria. She was learning English in her 40s. She often cried after class. Not because the lessons were too hard, but because of how she spoke to herself. Every time she made a grammar mistake, she whispered, "I'm so stupid." One day, I asked her gently, "Would you say that to your daughter?" She looked shocked and said, "Of course not." That moment changed something for her. She began to notice her inner voice. She started replacing, "I'm so stupid," with, "I'm learning." Slowly, her confidence grew. Her speaking improved. Her energy changed. Most importantly, she started to believe in herself again. You can do the same. Become aware of your inner critic. Choose a better, kinder voice. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about creating space for growth. One mistake does not erase your effort, intelligence, or worth. It is just part of the process. Speak to yourself kindly. Today, I invite you to notice how you talk to yourself. When you make a mistake, pause. Take a deep breath. Instead of blaming yourself, say something kind. Give yourself permission to be a learner. Take your time. Show yourself love. The way you speak to yourself matters. You have the power to rewrite your story. Remember, you are not your mistake. You are your courage. You are your growth. Every time you try, you're becoming more fluent and more confident in yourself. Learning English through mistakes. Now, let's bring this back to something very personal, your English learning. Maybe you want to speak more fluently, understand native speakers better, feel more confident in work or daily life. Here's something important. Making mistakes is not just a part of learning English, it is one of the most powerful tools you have. I know it may sound strange. Most people are afraid of mistakes, especially when speaking a new language. Maybe you forget a word, use the wrong tense, mix up vocabulary, and then feel embarrassed. Maybe someone laughs or corrects you in a way that doesn't feel kind. After that, your brain says, "What if I say it wrong?" So you stay quiet. You wait. You avoid speaking at all. Fluency comes through mistakes. Here's what I want you to hear today. Every fluent speaker, every confident English user, got there by speaking badly first. There is no fluency without mistakes. There is no growth without discomfort. There is no confidence without practice. That includes failing, forgetting, pausing, being misunderstood. All of it is part of the process. It's like trying to learn swimming without getting in the water. You can't skip it, and you shouldn't try to. How mistakes help your brain learn. When you make a mistake in English, your brain actually learns faster. Scientists call this productive failure. It means struggling a little helps your brain remember the correct form better. For example, you say, "He go to school every day." Someone gently corrects you. "He goes to school every day." This correction, especially in real conversation, is more powerful than memorizing grammar rules in a book. Why? It's connected to real communication. It involves emotion and experience. It helps you learn deeply. Even native speakers make mistakes. They forget words, mix up tenses, Use informal words like ain't or gonna. But they keep speaking. They don't panic. Why? Because they know meaning matters more than perfection. And that is a lesson every English learner needs to remember. Communication is the goal, not perfection. Let's start with an important idea. Communication is the goal, not perfection. If the person you are speaking to understands you, even if your grammar isn't perfect, you are already doing well. You are already winning. So, I want to encourage you today. Speak more, even when you are unsure. Try even when you are afraid. Ask questions. Start conversations. Order your coffee in English. Send that email. Join that online class. Yes, you will make mistakes. And that is good. Those mistakes are your teachers. They are your road to fluency. They are not something to hide. They are something to use. Don't worry if you forget a word. It happens to everyone, even in your first language. The important thing is to keep communicating. Describe it with words, gestures, or examples. Say, I don't know the word, but it's like. And keep going. That is real English. Real people don't speak perfectly all the time. They speak bravely and naturally. The most successful English learners I have met are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who make mistakes and keep going. They laugh at themselves. They ask for help. They try again. Over time, their speaking improves. Their confidence grows. They stop being afraid of being wrong. And that is when real fluency begins. So today, I want you to imagine something. What if your mistakes were not something to hide, but something to celebrate? What if every wrong sentence was one step closer to the right one? What if you gave yourself permission to be a beginner again and again? Because that is how mastery is built. You are not just learning English. You are building a new version of yourself. A braver version. A version that shows up even when it's scary. A version that keeps speaking, learning, and growing. And that version of you is the real success. Mistakes don't mean you are bad at English. They mean you are learning. Speak up. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Never let fear silence your voice. Practical steps to move on after a mistake. Now let's get practical. Knowing that mistakes don't define you is one thing, but applying it in real life is another. Here are simple steps you can use every time you make a mistake. Step 1. Acknowledge the mistake. The first step is simple but powerful. Don't hide from it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Don't run away. Take a deep breath and say, okay, that didn't go how I wanted. I made a mistake. Why is this important? Because admitting it gives you control. If you ignore it, fear grows. When you acknowledge it, you start the process of healing and learning. Step 2. Reflect calmly. Next, take a moment to reflect on what happened. Ask yourself, what went wrong? Why did I choose that word or react that way? This reflection is not about blaming yourself. It's about becoming aware. Maybe you were tired. You weren't prepared. You misunderstood something. Observe the situation like you're watching a movie. Be kind. Don't judge. Just notice. Step 3. Learn the lesson. Every mistake has a lesson if you are willing to listen. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Do I need to practice a grammar rule? Should I slow down next time? Did I learn to speak up or prepare better? Write down 1 or 2 sentences summarizing your lesson. This turns your mistake into a learning moment. It turns a small failure into a small success. Over time, these lessons build your experience, strength, and wisdom. Step 4. Keep going. This step is the hardest for many people, but it is also the most important. Don't stop. Don't wait until you feel perfect. Don't wait until you feel fully confident. Confidence comes after action, not before. So, after you've acknowledged the mistake, reflected, and learned, speak again, try again, write again, teach again. Take the next step forward. The only real failure is when you stop trying. Consistency beats perfection. Here's something crucial to remember. Consistency is more important than perfection. Many people think they need to be perfect to succeed. But that's not true. Success comes from doing things repeatedly, showing up every day, doing them even when it's not perfect, doing them even when you make mistakes. This is how your brain gets stronger. Habits are built. Confidence grows. Step by step, slowly, you become better. Slowly, you become fluent. Slowly, you become stronger. Mistakes are not the enemy. Fear is not the enemy either. Not trying is the real obstacle. So, speak up. Make mistakes. Learn from them. Keep moving forward. Every step, even a small one, takes you closer to your goal: fluency, confidence, and growth. You don't have to be perfect, just present. Let me share something I tell my students often. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Just be here. Just keep trying. Just keep learning. You are not expected to get everything right the first time. In fact, you shouldn't. Learning anything new, including English, is messy. It comes with small mistakes and failures. But each mistake brings you closer to where you want to be. That is the mindset that leads to real, lasting change. So, if you are listening right now and thinking about a recent mistake, something that bothers you, something you regret, or something you keep thinking about, take a deep breath. Remind yourself, you are human. You are learning. You are growing. And now you have a process to follow. A simple process for moving forward. Whenever you make a mistake, try these steps. Acknowledge it. Say, I made a mistake. Don't hide it. Don't ignore it. Facing it gives you control. Reflect on it. Ask, what happened? Why did this happen? This is not about blaming yourself. It's about understanding the situation. Find the lesson. Ask, what can I learn? How can I do better next time? Write down 1 or 2 sentences if you can. Each lesson turns a small failure into a small success. Keep going. Take the next step, even if it's small. Speak again, try again, write again, practice again. Real failure only happens if you stop trying. Mistakes are part of success. Remember this, mistakes are not the opposite of success. They are part of success. Mistakes show that you are trying. Mistakes show that you care. Mistakes help you grow. The more you move through mistakes with grace, the more you become the kind of person who isn't afraid to try. And that, my friend, is a superpower. So, if you make a small mistake in English today, try this. Pause. Breathe. Follow the steps. Acknowledge, reflect, learn, keep going. Notice how your mindset shifts. Little by little, you will see that mistakes don't hold you back, they help move you forward. Reflection and self-compassion. Now, let's take a quiet moment together. After this episode, maybe you can sit down with a notebook or just your thoughts. Ask yourself, what mistake am I still holding on to? What am I judging myself for? What lesson can I take from this experience instead of just the pain? Be honest. Be gentle. Self-reflection is one of the most powerful tools for growth and learning. When you are aware of how you think and feel, you become more open. You become more curious. You become more ready to try again. Words have power, especially when spoken with intention. Try saying these out loud or silently to yourself. I am not my mistake. Mistakes mean I'm learning. I choose progress over perfection. I am getting better every time I try. I am proud of how far I've come. You don't need to be perfect to grow. You just need to be consistent. Keep showing up. Keep moving even on hard days. Keep going even when it feels slow. Every time you keep going, you are becoming more fluent, becoming more confident, taking control of your own story. Before we finish, I want to invite you to share something. Did this episode help you think differently? Did it remind you of something important? Share it in a comment with a friend, or even just say it out loud to yourself. Sometimes, speaking about your growth is a big step forward. Remember, you are doing better than you think. Your mistakes are not the end. They are just part of the beginning. Keep learning. Keep speaking. Keep believing in your ability to grow. You are not alone on this path. Every step you take, even the small ones, leads to something meaningful. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And most importantly, thank you for being kind to yourself. I'll see you in the next episode.